Stanley Cup Final.
Nope.
And that's too bad because, boy, Tom, we are watching some great hockey, I think. I've just been so entertained by the two series that are left of four teams that are trying to get to the, to the final. And, I was struck last night in watching that game too about, we're still just searching for reasons why Montreal is ahead 3-2 and ignoring the obvious. Right. They've played well enough to be up 3-2.
Like, right, is it 3-1 or 3-2 they're up? 3-1 they're up, right? Yeah, 3-1 they're up, right? No, 3-2. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah. So they're up 3-2, but defensively they've played well. Their goaltending has been just really fine. Yeah. And they're getting opportunistic scoring.
Yeah.
Like what else do they got to do before people are going to say,
I know,
boy, the Canadians, they got it going.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, especially when they're playing Vegas. When you look back at Vegas's first year in the league, right? It was the same kind of mentality. People think, well, it's not going to keep going. They're not going to keep going. And they went to the finals. Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, the people want to make it about what Vegas is not doing.
Yeah, I agree.
They're not scoring. Their center's not good enough. Like what's going on with that team?
Especially when you look at Montreal. I love Montreal's defense. I'm a huge Shea Weber fan. I just think he's such a leader. Like, again, we talk about that culture. Carey Price has got the culture, the work ethic. But that Caulfield there too, man, he can play too. You talk about all these good young players Tampa's got and everything, and on the other series, but Montreal's there too. I'm with you. I like it. But I am still. Listen, I'm still the guy that unfortunately that says that I still think Vegas is going to win, but Montreal's one win away from it, and Vegas could win. But how about listen, I'm a huge Marc-Andre Fleury fan, but Leonard won the last game, correct?
Yeah.
Right. And then they come back with Marc-Andre Fleury. I don't get that.
I'm going to be honest too. I'm a Fleury guy. I'm glad Fleury was in. I was happy to see that, but I would not have expected that. And it's one of the oldest NHL traditions. A goalie wins, he keeps going.
Yeah. Right. Definitely.
So,
Yeah, and especially you just wonder, I'm just trying to think of the logic. I mean, obviously Leonard could be hurt, and they're not telling us that he's hurt. That could be the case.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah. So, but again, it really wasn't Fleury's fault that they lost either. It wasn't like he played bad, and especially the team only scores one goal for you. You're not going to win too many games that way.
No, I mean, the one goal when people are complaining he was out of position. Well, first of all, he made a big save, and the defenseman just let the guy get inside position on him. He had the guy covered, and then the guy just slipped right by him.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. You know what? I just thought Vegas, and even if you listen to the comments and read the comments, even from Pete DeBoer, he says, I really can't explain it. Like, they played bad. Now, listen, like you said from the start, Montreal played great, and Montreal forced Vegas to play not their top game, but still Vegas can play better. Now, will they be able to the way Montreal's playing? That's going to be the question in the next game. But, yeah.
Yeah, well, interesting. Cole Caulfield, you brought him up. Just think back when you came into the league, what you would have thought of a sized scorer coming up against you like this. It's amazing to me, having lived through, the 80s and into the 90s and the trapping, grabbing, holding, clutching style. You had to be, if you were a small guy, you had to be Theo Fleury to work through that. In other words, you had to play with your stick up and with meanness and everything. And Cole Caulfield's not that guy.
Yeah, definitely. Especially in the playoffs, because for sure we would have all been talking. If we're playing against Caulfield, we were saying, all right, we need to intimidate him. We need to get the glove in the face, flash him on the hands. Now, some of the things you can't do as much anymore with the change of rules, but they've changed. And again, Vegas is, the teams are smart too. You look at these teams at Montreal. I apologize. They're smart that they've got like those character guys. Like if Shea Weber's there too, somebody starts trying to mess around with Caulfield, Shea Weber's going to be over there and let him know what the way things are really going to be. So, I love it.
Yeah, but I think the game is better that we have room for guys like Caulfield.
Yeah, no question. Yes.
Yeah, because he's an exciting player. He's always a half stride away from a breakaway.
Yeah.
Wherever he is, he's just waiting to get a breakaway.
And Gallagher's doing his thing too, right? He's getting under the skin of Vegas pretty good too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of everything. And I think that's what you really need. We always talk about, well, you got to be big, you got to be heavy, you got to have great goaltending, but you need everything.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
to win, you can't just be one thing. You can't be just a hard working team.
Yeah.
You can't.
And you need guys to get hot at the right time. Look at Tampa Bay with Point and the way he's scoring, right? By the way, speaking of Tampa Bay, it now goes to the strength of this show, the impact that we have on people. I called out Steven Stamkos that he could potentially get traded, and all of a sudden he starts scoring goals, so he doesn't want to get traded.
Yeah. And I'm sure that Brisebois saw your show and said, "Oh my God!"
Yeah. Maybe he went down and talked to Stamkos and said, "Listen, Laidlaw's put you on the trade block. You better get moving." Right.
And look what's happened to Eichel since Tom put Eichel on the trade block.
It's falling apart. His neck's falling apart.
Yeah. So holy cow, boy, what's going on there? Now I saw a report before we get to Tampa because I want to talk about them a little bit. But I saw a report that the Buffalo Sabres are looking for a young center and a first round pick, and then 3 or 4 other pieces for Jack Eichel. I'm not sure they're going to be able to get that.
Yeah. Is that them coming out and saying that? Or is other people saying that?
No. It was pretend. I think it was Larry. It might have been Larry Brooks. Had a report that from the Blackhawks they wanted Kirby Doc, and their first round pick, which is 12, and then maybe 3 or 4 other assets.
Ooh.
So
I mean, I could say, yeah, you want that, but
yeah, well, yeah, that's a really good point you just made because there's always a starting point. It's kind of like when you're trying to buy a used car off the guy, and you go in and like you say 5,000, and the car's worth 7, and you just negotiate from there. So
I kind of wonder about the methods that they're using there. Like to me, I'd rather say, all right, we've got Jack Eichel, and he is this premier player. You come to us and you tell us what you want to give us, right? Instead of maybe they're selling themselves short at Kirby Doc, and in that case, and the first round draft pick and other. Maybe it should be more. Like again, I point back to Joe Sakic in Colorado when he had the Duchesne situation. I thought he kind of was just sitting and waiting and saying, okay, something's going to happen during the season here. See, and I think this is the thing too. I think you need to wait till during the season because now teams get injuries, they have cap problems, they need to make moves. If you start doing it during the summer, I guess you maybe don't want to go into the season again with Jack Eichel. But again, Sakic did that with Duchesne. He went back into a new season with Duchesne with that problem still there, and it worked out pretty good for him. So I don't know.
I think you would do better in the off season though, when everybody can move assets around. Although in this year right now, everybody's having trouble moving assets.
Yeah. I guess I think myself, all right, some team gets going and they get an injury. A team is a contender, they have a bad injury, they need to do something to the lineup.
Yeah, but he's a $10 million player. Like that's not easily assimilated into a cap.
Yeah,
that's why I think you kind of got to do it in the summer when.
Yeah, good point. And I guess right, especially now with the contending teams are usually right up against the cap too, right? So even if they do get an injury, although, well, yeah.
Speaking of other players that are available, I did a piece this week where I wrote about, and then I just tweeted out, that I always root for Phil Kessel because no one else does. Was my tweet, and it's true, really. I mean, I always found Phil to be kind of just he's an introvert. He just wants to be left alone. Like he likes to play. I think he really cares. Yes. Although one of my readers said, well, if he cared, he'd work out more. But I'm not sure that's true. I think there are people who care who.
He didn't work out when he was in Pittsburgh, and he almost won the Conn Smythe, right? So I'm sure he's saying to himself, why am I going to work out? I mean, I'm a natural athlete. I look terrible. I look out of shape and everything, but yeah. Yeah,
well, but you say, okay, like he's not in shape. He looks like your couch potato neighbor. And all that kind of stuff. But I looked at his thing. He's now played in the league 15 years. He has 15 years he's played.
Wow.
He's got 391 goals. He almost never misses a game in his
Sure.
entire career.
Sure.
He's averaging 26 goals, per season. You look at his playoff numbers over that 2 years when the Penguins won, he had 43 points. That's Mario Lemieux-like.
Yeah, very true.
Everybody keeps writing him off. He had 20 goals last year. John Tavares didn't have 20 goals last year. No one on the New York Islanders had 20 goals last year. Now, he's a power play guy. So how many power play goals do you think he had?
Well, based on the way you're saying that, I'm going to say 5.
Yeah, he had 6. He had 14 even strength goals.
Yeah. So, on a team that wasn't that good either, right?
But he can't play. He's soft. He doesn't know what he's doing.
But okay, so I'm going to counter that then. I'm going to go against you. Okay, so he showed us how good he can be in Pittsburgh when they were going on the run. But the problem I'm having is, like, I know he scored 20 goals last year, but on that team it's just they wanted more from him, obviously, right? It doesn't seem like he's followed through with that performance that he had in the playoffs. But,
it wasn't a good team. And, nobody, if it was so easy, no one else on that team scored 20 goals.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
And you look at his ice time, he's not leading the team in ice time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think the guy, I saw a report and it made me smile, it was on hockey, the NHL network. And the guy was just saying that he's going to be available for trade because this is last year on the contract and they're trying to move, some people. And here's the other thing too. The way his contract is structured, he's got a cap hit, but his money is due like now.
Oh,
the Coyotes got to pay him. I think there is somebody retained some salary, so I don't know if it was Pittsburgh or Toronto or somebody. Right. So somebody's paying over $1 million, and then the Coyotes will pay $3 million, and then he'll have only $1 million due.
Right.
Now that's a pretty interesting player for somebody who has lost a lot of money over the last 2 seasons and looking for secondary scoring. I think he's actually a pretty interesting.
Right. What do you think? What do you think they'd get for him though? Would you get very much for him right now?
No, you're going to get a draft pick, but.
So like a 3rd or 4th round draft pick, something like that?
Oh, I think it'll be higher than that. I would say a second or third. So.
Okay.
Or maybe a prospect, a B+ prospect. Right. But let's go around. I mean, like, wouldn't he be a good fit for Nashville? Like, they got to have some scoring there.
We put him with Duchesne and Johansson?
Well,
that line, that line together. Well, one game they played, they may score 10 goals, and then they go another 10 weeks without scoring any goals. That's right. The problem.
Yeah, but Columbus needs goal scoring. The Anaheim Ducks need goal scoring. Right. I mean,
but if I'm Phoenix, they're short on cash, right? There's no cap issue. They're short on cash, but they're only going to pay him ultimately what is it, $3 million, or like not a whole lot of cash.
They've paid him. I don't know if they paid him yet, but they're going to have to pay him, $3 million and change, and then they'll only owe him $1 million. That'll be a salary.
So say you're just north of $4 million that you got to spend on Phil Kessel for this coming season. But then, all right, if he's your leading goal scorer, and you're only going to get a 2nd round draft pick for him, why not just keep him?
Because they need draft picks. Like, they don't have any prospects. They got to. Good point. They need to start getting it all together. But I'm with you. Like, if you're going to try to compete, you need goal scorers. Like, Kessel is the greatest player.
And they're having a hard time with the popularity of hockey in the desert there now.
Yeah,
I mean, now you're going to trade him away and have some other young kid come in there. That'd be nice, but at some point you have to say to yourself, we're running a business here where we have to put people in the seats.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying that people from the Phoenix area are going to go out of their way to see Phil Kessel play, but I mean, just the credibility of the team, right? To have them be a contender. I mean, making the playoffs is the best part. But
I'm with you. I'd love to see the Coyotes be good because I don't think they've had a real good test.
Totally. Yeah.
So now the bigger situation there is Ekman Larson, and as hard as it was last year to try to trade him because he only had 2 teams he was willing to consider going to, and they weren't able to get it done. I think it was Vancouver and Boston. I think it's worse this year because they still have the same no movement clause, but now everybody's got a bad contract. They want to move. His is 6 years for over $8 million.
That's right.
And his last 2 seasons, he hasn't played as well as he did in the previous season. So, now how they look at it, but I don't see them able to move him without retaining some salary. Because that's just too much money. I put a list together and just wrote the 4 teams, and I don't know how sound this is, but there's some logic to it. Like if Colorado's going to lose Seth Jones, maybe they're having trouble getting people signed. Maybe you're willing to take the 6 years if Arizona keeps $2 million,
right,
or 2.2.
Is he going to want to go to Columbus?
Probably not. That's the point. If that was my last line, will he want to go there? I would think not, but I don't know. And then Boston's looking for a defenseman, but even at $6 million, they need a veteran guy.
What are they looking for? They had Krug. I don't buy it. Why did you let Krug go when you're looking for a defenseman? And I like what Sweeney has done there. And
me too.
Krug, that one really baffled me at the time too. But.
Yeah, so I'm not bullish on Ekman Larsson for Boston, but I just look at it as a possibility because I know they're looking, and he's a veteran, he's been around, and he can play on the power play. He's he could still score 10 or 12 goals on the power play.
And if he goes to a team that's more of a hockey market with a better team, maybe he plays better too, right? I mean
it's hard.
That happened. I mean, for me, when I remember I got traded out to LA, we had a good hockey team out in LA, but then a year later, Wayne Gretzky got traded there, and all of a sudden you feel like you're a better hockey player all the time. You really feel like you got a chance of winning something now, and now you play better too. So.
Well, you weren't a better player. They put you on the power play.
Well, that should have been there all the time, but
exactly.
My poor first coach, Freddie Sherrill, got fired because he put me on the power play. I've told his son this too, Ray Sherrill. What is Ray doing now?
He's with Minnesota. He's an advisor.
Right. So I told Ray that too. Your poor father got fired because he put me on the power play. That was my first goal I scored in the National Hockey League. Freddie put me in front of the net. Phil Esposito and Barry Beck got the assist on my first goal too.
Wow. Yeah. Did it just hit off you and deflect?
No, actually, I think Barry Beck gave it to Phil, or vice versa. One of them shot it at the net and as a rebound. My parents actually got a plaque made of it with a picture where I'm kind of like falling through the air. I'm not saying it's Bobby Orr, but it's kind of that same kind of thing where I'm falling through the air to get the rebound. So
it was a juicy rebound, as they like.
Juicy, yes, really juicy.
And he jammed it home. So
yeah, definitely. What Susan's got a good question here. I did not see this. Our girl Susan Brooks.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. That's not the one I wanted. We'll get to that one too. But did you hear Jargon's press conference? I did not see that. And
I did. Yeah.
I don't know if there's any spectacular about that or not. Well, let's get to the Islanders in Tampa. Somebody made a comment here about Islanders look like they're a retired hockey team. Here's our guy right here. See, I think that was more of a case. I thought it was just more of a case of everything went wrong. Like if you look at the goals that Tampa scored, I mean, there's some really nice goals, and the Islanders took way too many penalties. They can't give Tampa all those power play chances. But I just thought, some of the rebounds or deflections off defensemen's skates and all that kind of stuff. I just thought it was one of those nights that everything went wrong. Like to me, I would rather in a game like that. Listen, you don't want to get blown out, but I would rather just throw it out. You just say, listen, we were so bad. Everything went against us. We throw it out. It has no effect on this next game whatsoever. That's my feelings.
Yeah. Well, I think the Islanders have proven that they're resilient. So I don't think they're done just because they lost that.
I agree.
That game. And they'll play hard. And I'm sure Trotz has watched that game 3 or 4 times and picked up on some things that they've got to, correct. And that's just what coaches do in this day and age. That the level of coaching we see in the NHL is so sophisticated now. They break everything down.
I'll tell you, the big thing is they can't fall behind tonight against Tampa. Not with Vasilevsky's near the game he can play, just near. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if he's playing the way he can, they can't.
Well, I had a little bit of an epiphany recently about the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I was talking with Mike Agello, who covers the Maple Leafs, and it's his assertion that the Maple Leafs are never going to win with so much money tied up in 4 players. And I argued that that's ridiculous, that that's the way that the league is now. Like you look at every team, everybody's got 3 or 4 players who are earning a lot of money. And the Maple Leafs have 4 players at 38 million or 30.
So Tavares, Marner, Matthews, and Nylander.
Nylander's at almost 7 million. So
okay, I guess, I guess it goes case by case, though, right? I mean, if you got those 4 guys, like I'm a Tavares fan. I'm okay with Tavares, but I don't know if he's
okay with Tavares.
Yeah, I'm not over the moon about Tavares. I mean, okay, let's go the teams that have won. Let's say Pittsburgh then. So their 4 guys would be Crosby, Malkin, Letang, and who else in that category? That
was it. Well, yeah. At the time they had
I guess Fleury was in there
at that time.
Right. Okay, so in that case, and they won because those 4 guys were real contributing players. I just wonder, like I look at Nylander in Toronto, like he just doesn't, and I just like Tavares. It's not like I don't put Tavares in that category of Malkin or Crosby. Do you?
Yeah. No, well, because those players are both in the top 5 in the game when they were in their prime.
Right. Right.
But here's my issue with it all, and this is what my epiphany about Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has 5 players earning $45 million. That's $9 million per guy. Now, I think the big difference is, and you see it with the Pittsburgh thing. All 4 of those guys on Toronto are forwards.
Right.
They're not paying a big time goalie. Tampa's paying a big time goalie, big time defenseman, and 3 big time forwards. They've got their money spread out. They're paying a lot of money to individual players,
right?
But they got one of each position that they're paying. And Pittsburgh did it. They had 2 centers. They were paying a lot of money. They were paying Letang a lot of money, who was a premium defenseman, and if Fleury was there, they were
good
playing
point.
goalie.
Really good point. Yeah, you're right.
I think it's not so much it is who you're paying, but it's also what they play. You got to spread that money out so that it's impacting all the elements of your game.
That's a good point. You look at Boston, who's had success lately too. You got the big power line with Marchand, Pasternak, and my guy. It's awful. I can't remember his name right now. And then the defense was Chara. And then
that makes the point as well. They were paying Marchand and Bergeron, and they're also paying Chara, and then they were paying Tuukka Rask. They had it all covered. Now, what ends up happening, like if you end up with a player like Chara, who's willing when he gets older and he's past his prime, that's willing to stay. Like what a bargain it was for him to play in Boston and then not demand a superstar salary.
Definitely.
I mean, that really stretches out your dollars.
So in Toronto, then you're saying, okay, I get the theory, but the theory is because they didn't spread it out. They just got it all on the forwards. They don't have that.
Well, it's interesting too that that you want to, like, you're not high on Nylander. Like I thought he was their best player in the playoffs. Like this year, I thought he played well.
Yeah. You're probably right. Yeah, he did. I guess I've never seen him really. He just hasn't been the player that I thought he was going to be, especially after he had that holdout too. I just thought that really slowed him down.
Yeah.
But maybe he's over that now.
I think you really do have to kind of spread your money out. If you put it all in one aspect of your attack, it's not going to.
And I say this in a good way too. You look at the Islanders of the teams remaining. They've done it without. I mean, it's really Barzal is the star player there, and Anders Lee.
That's right. Yeah, their team is kind of void of paying. They've got their money really spread out. Like there's no prima donnas there. There's no superstars.
And you think back to Lou Lamoriello's teams in New Jersey, right? I mean, there's Stevens, Niedermeyer. Who were the forwards? I guess but they had good forwards, but it wasn't really.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Patrick Elish was there a lot. He was there.
Yeah, always. He was underrated though, boy. He was a guy that was always productive, but he had to pay Scott Stevens and he paid Marty. So
that's good. Yeah, good point. So same thing. It was spread out there too. Defensemen, forwards.
Right.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Hey,
because just think too about Devils like Jamie Langenbrunner was a important part of the team, and he's not. I think he only scored 20 goals 4 times.
Yeah, that's right.
But he was a good leader and a guy you want if you're trying to win. So
Yeah, definitely. Hey, sad news. We lost two alumni members here, Rennie Robert and Tom Curvers.
Yeah, that's just Rennie Robert, because Rick Martin is gone too. So 2/3 of the French connection. That's just so sad. I actually had proposed to Hockey Buzz. I want to do, because this occurred to me about 3 or 4 weeks ago. If if you got to be like 50 or 60 years old to have seen those guys play.
Yeah,
so
and they were great too. Oh man.
Yeah. So I had proposed that I'm going to do. And what prompted it is I went and looked, and Gilbert Perreault is in his 70s. Of course, Bobby Orr is 73.
Yeah.
Bobby Clark is 71 or 72.
Right. Larry Robinson's got to be up there too, right?
Yeah. And so I proposed a series called How Great Were They?, where I was going to interview people who played against them and just do a kind of series of stories to remind people of how great they were. So,
can you call me on Larry Robinson? I'd love to do Larry Robinson.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to call you on a lot of them, because you played against Perreault and all those guys.
Love Larry. I just love Larry Robinson. That was one of the highlights of my career, when Larry got traded to the Kings, and I got to play with Larry. Just a fantastic guy. I remember watching him play all the Philadelphia series where, Philadelphia's trying to beat everybody up. And it wasn't just Larry, but I mean, he's pretty much taken on the whole team and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've told the story before, but I was a teenager when Bobby Clark came into the league, and I just despised Bobby Clark. Despised him. Yeah. I just thought he was, he'd start the fight, and then the boys would come in, and then he'd skate away.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's what it seemed like.
Oh, I know. How about the Larry Robinson hit? Was it Gary Dornhofer? He hit in Montreal, broke the boards. Was it Montreal? Remember that?
Yeah. I mean, just think of the crushing hits that we saw in the 1980s that would people would be calling for those people to be banned for life.
Oh, yeah. Scott Stevens alone, you could have a whole highlight reel on Scott Stevens. Man.
Scott Stevens on Kozlov in that Stanley Cup Final.
How about the one, the Paul Creer one that should have been interference, I think, but still.
Or him on Lindros.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Scott Stevens, wow. Like he was, I don't know, best open ice hitter you ever saw?
Probably, yes. Barry Beck was right up there too, but Scott he was pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. So
definitely.
That was
and Tom Curvers passed away from cancer, correct?
Yes, he did, lung cancer, and was not a smoker. Right. But there's it's interesting when this happens. Oftentimes, it's almost becomes a public service, because it kind of warns people just because you didn't smoke. Because Tom certainly didn't. Tom was a really good player as well. Wasn't a great player, but could move the puck, and I think was still working for the Minnesota Wild when he was diagnosed.
And I didn't realize he'd worked for Tampa too. I didn't realize that. I looked him up today, and he worked them for a while.
Yeah.
Always seemed like that real good team guy too, right? He just did his job, and
I know he was friends with that old Czech. I know. And he was has been quite upset about how ill.
Especially all the stuff Eddie's gone through with his health too, right? I mean,
I think it's when someone dies of cancer and you're a cancer survivor, I think it makes it doubly hard on you when they're.
My old client Brian Boucher, I got to comment. He's getting better and better on TV. I think, like he's really. I feel like he's getting more and more confidence in himself too.
Well, I mean, I agree with you, but I thought he was outstanding from the minute he stepped.
True.
In the booth. He was great right from the beginning, and now, he's just a superstar.
Yeah, he really is. Like I was listening to the game him and Olchuk were doing together, and all of a sudden you could tell they were working together well too. They were complimenting each other on how they're doing stuff, and they're good. Yeah,
that's a lot harder than it looks. I've actually been in the booth to see guys work, and there's a guy from NBC. His name's going to escape me right now. It'll come to me though. He's slips notes to him. I know when I did a game with Doc Emrick, or watched Doc Emrick and Eddie Olczyk, and they slip a note to him while they're calling the game, and sometimes Mike would just look up and give a nod. And Eddie understood when Doc needed a break. Like if it had been 2 or 3 minutes of nonstop action. Eddie would throw a comment in, so Mike could get a gulp of water or to just draw a breath.
I remember when I was doing that. I talked to John Davidson was in the prime of his broadcasting career, and I thought he was fantastic.
Oh,
he was really good. He talked about the preparation he did. Like he was one of the first people I knew that was back before the small satellite dishes. There was the big ones, and he had one put in his backyard so he could watch all the games from around the league. So he really knew what was going on. He'd go to morning skates, write out his notes, so that when he was, same way as you prepare as a player, the more you're prepared, the more confidence you have in yourself because you've done the work. And he was the same way on air, that he did so many notes and everything. And he knew he was never going to get hung up and have nothing to talk about in case it was a boring game. He was good.
Oh, he's tremendous. And he could have done that. When I did that story with him, I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago. He talked that his first impulse was to retire, and then he started getting calls. Well, I'll bet some of the calls he got were from, TS,
sure.
or from
ESPN, totally,
or Turner. He was such a great analyst. It's funny, like Doc Emrick. When I first when he first got to the NHL, he was with Bill Clement.
Yeah,
and boy, you thought, oh man, when they broke them up, I thought, holy cow, there couldn't be anybody better than Billy and Mike. And then it was John Davidson, and then you go, oh my God, there can't be any better than John Davidson and Eddie Olczyk, or than Davidson. Then Olczyk comes along, you're going, oh man, there can't be any better than.
Very true. Yeah. I don't know if Susan's being funny here or not. So how about Phil? Well, Phil would have to be X-rated though, or R-rated, whatever it is. But Phil, I love Phil to death too. I want to be careful. I love Phil. He was fantastic to me when I came here. Treated me great. So I want to be careful when I say that. But
no, it's when Phil was the general manager, he was so much fun to deal with.
I bet.
Oh yeah, I loved calling and talking to him about what was going on in the league, and he'd catch you up on what's going on with team. And there's a great story about Phil Esposito slipping a trade rumor. I think it was to Roy Cummings there in Tampa Bay, of something he was interested in. And that happens. Sometimes GMs want to just float a trial balloon. They want to see what the reaction would be from the fan base. So, they're working on some stuff, and they just say, hey, we're talking about this.
Right.
And Roy ran with it, and the people there at the office asked Phil about it, and asked him whether, well, is that close? Did we start getting ready and everything? And Phil said, oh, I don't know. I haven't even called the Flyers yet to ask him about it.
So would the reporter in that case know that he was kind of getting used?
No. Well, sometimes you have a feeling. But
if you've got a good relationship with the GM, and you know that he's doing that to you, you could go ahead and do it anyways, right? I guess it's the way you write.
As long as, you can't do it 10 times and then him, not follow through, So, because often the time when they tell you that, there's actually something going on,
Right. It wasn't Neil Smith really big on that? Like he was. This is what people tell me. I don't know this.
I don't know the answer to that. He never did that with me. But
one of the best, and he's a great guy. Do you remember Bruce Garriock up with the Ottawa Sun?
Oh yeah.
He's a great guy, but he was king of the rumors too. He loved that stuff.
Oh, I remember Reggie Houle when he was with Montreal. I love calling, talk to him too, because you just shoot the breeze,
right?
And he'd tell you the stuff that he heard, and I would joke with him. I'd say, "Now, do you really know this, or did you read it in Bruce Garriock's column?"
That's funny.
And he would just roar.
It's funny. And I know I've told you a story too. Larry Brooks, who I have a ton of respect for, because Larry calls it like it is. Doesn't matter who it is, he's going to go after everybody, right?
Yeah.
And I'm used to being like, when I was in the agent business, I was used to have, like with you and I have conversations, and you would always kind of protect me. Okay, Tom, is this what you want me to write, or is this what you tell me that's writable, or we'd have other stuff that we talk about that maybe shouldn't be out in public. And but I was talking to Larry one day, and I got caught, and it wasn't his fault. He did nothing wrong, but I got caught pretend like really I thought I was talking to you, and it wasn't. It was Larry. And with Larry, if you tell him something, he's going to write it. Right? Especially I'm friends with Larry, but it's not like I'm friends like him with you. And I had made a comment. It was during the Brian Berard. He was coming back from his eye injury, and we're negotiating with the Rangers. And I made some comment that it was either the Rangers or Toronto he was going to sign with. I made some comment, something to the effect that the Rangers didn't have as good a chance to make the playoffs And it was derogatory towards the Rangers. And I was having that conversation and thinking, well, it's not going to get public. Well, he wrote that the next day. And Glenn Sather was the GM. And Don Maloney, my old roommate, was the assistant GM. And I saw it in the paper and I thought, oh, God, Glenn's going to be, he's going to kill me. So I said, I got to call him up. I can't wait for him to call me. So I called Don up. And Don actually was pretty funny. He was laughing at me because I said, listen, I didn't get misquoted. I wasn't taken out of context. I said it. And I called Glenn up and I said, here's exactly what happened. And he tried to put the tough guy, like he was trying to pretend he was mad. But I think the fact that I called him, he said, okay, not a big deal. It's just really wasn't a big deal. But
yeah,
it's interesting the relationship with him.
Well, it is. And that's tricky. I always made it clear, like, if you remember, I would say to you, I'm writing here, I'm writing here. So now we're talking. And I think that's one of the hardest things for young journalists to discover is to make sure the person you're talking to knows where you stand, because only when you're dealing with people all the time. Now, if you're calling, like if I'm just calling up a guy that I've never talked to before, I don't say anything because he knows that I'm calling him to get quotes. But you and I talked a lot. So I always had to be clear to you. Okay, I need something. I got to write here. Okay, let's talk here on the record. So
and I think that's better for both sides too, right? Because now, like I'm talking about the things I'm hearing. Maybe I don't want it public, but so you're getting information from me, and vice versa. It's tricky business when you're a beat writer because sometimes you get in the area of implied off the record, which is it's just everybody kind of knows, and it becomes dangerous for everybody. Yes, totally. Yeah. I agree.
Anyway, well, we've gone on and on here into the different realms.
Wee hours of the morning.
Yeah, but anyway, we appreciate everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next week when we'll be talking about the Stanley Cup Final. It's hard to believe.
That's right.
I don't know if this feels like a long season or a short season. I can't.
It's funny, isn't it? To say we're almost in the finals. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, but if you want to read me, I'm at hockeybuzz.com and also Hockey Detroit or Hockey. Detroit Hockey Now. I got to get used to my new.
You're doing so much stuff now.
Yeah, as well. And Tom, tell us where to.
Yeah, and again, if you want to listen to the radio version of this show, you can go to radio.co at 365 Sports. Again, that's radio.co at 365 Sports. And Kevin and I will be back next Monday. See you guys.